Hey guys, happy Tuesday. So you may have been wondering why we've been talking about so much chemistry. We've been talking about Bohr models and bonding and electronegativity. And obviously I do love chemistry, but there is a method behind this madness. And the reason we've been studying all that stuff is because to truly understand why the water molecule is so unique and so special, we have to understand some of the chemistry behind it. So right now, today and the rest of this week, we really want to bring those two things together. Okay, so we're bringing the chemistry of the water molecule and we're uniting it with why the water molecule is so unique and special and how it allows for life on Earth, and really why when we're looking for life on other planets, the first thing we look for is water. So to do this, I want you guys to, in your notebook or on a piece of paper, whatever, title this Properties of the Water Molecule. And then we're going to draw a water molecule. We're going to make it really big. And probably you've seen lots of different depictions of the water molecule throughout your education. But we're just going to start with this really simple like ball and stick model. So we've got our two hydrogens, H2O. So one little hydrogen, second little hydrogen, and then our oxygen. And you want to make oxygen bigger than our hydrogens because oxygen is bigger than hydrogen. And then these two hydrogens are sitting here at the bottom at kind of a funny angle. And the reason for that is that there's extra electrons on top of the oxygen, and those extra electrons kind of push the hydrogens away. You don't really need to know that. I just wanted to tell you. Hey, dogs, go be crazy somewhere else. Go. Go. Laika, go. Sorry. Okay. So, once you've drawn your big water molecule, we can start thinking about what kind of bonds it experiences. So we want to label each bond as polar covalent or nonpolar covalent. And so this is where we have to start thinking about electronegativity. So hydrogen's electronegativity value is 2.1 and oxygen's electronegativity value is 3.5. So that's a big difference. That's 1.4. Usually we start to see ionic behavior around 1.7. So this is very polar. And we know it's a covalent bond and not an ionic bond also because they're both nonmetals. Oxygen is a nonmetal, hydrogen is a nonmetal. So our two bonds are polar covalent bonds. And you should just keep adding stuff to the same drawing. Don't draw the water molecule like 5 times. Unless you really want to. In which case, go for it. All right, so now we want to draw our dipole arrows. So our dipole arrows show us which direction our polar bonds are pointing. So oxygen is more electronegative by a lot. So it's going to be pulling the electrons more towards itself. So hydrogen and oxygen are still sharing these two electrons right here, but they're just spending a little more time with the oxygen. Kind of on average. So the dipole arrow for both of these, the positive end is going to be by the hydrogen, and the negative end, the arrowhead, is going to point towards the oxygen. So that'll be the same for both of them. So they're both pointing towards the oxygen. Then we can draw our molecular dipole. So this tells us whether or not our molecule acts like a magnet.
Sometimes things are polar, but they balance each other out. The polar bonds balance each other out. But in this case, the polar bonds kind of unite by pointing the same direction. And so that oxygen is a lot more negative than the hydrogens are. So then, now that we have this molecular dipole, we can start to think about which side is kind of the negative end of the magnet and which side is the positive end. So the hydrogens are kind of the positive end of the magnet, and the oxygens are kind of the negative end of the magnet. So then we can draw our electron density bubbles. And so this big red bubble should go kind of around oxygen, because oxygen is going to have a lot more electron density than the hydrogen. And then the hydrogens have these white bubbles. And because the electron cloud is kind of pulled towards the oxygen, we have a little bit of an increased density kind of up here. So this is the negative end of the magnet. This is the positive end of the magnet. And so this allows all of our little water molecules to interact like 1,000 bajillion tiny magnets. And this is what gives them the behavior that makes life possible, which is kind of important, I guess. So you can see here, these little dashed lines are kind of showing the magnetic interactions. So positive guy, negative guy. So this oxygen is really attracted to this little hydrogen, and then this hydrogen is attracted to this oxygen, and so on and so forth. And you'll notice the hydrogens aren't really attracted to each other. They might push each other away a little bit in between, but the most important, strongest interaction is between those oxygens and these hydrogens. And this is a really special, really strong interaction. And by the end of the week, we're going to have some more language and vocabulary to be able to talk about this interaction. So tomorrow, I'm going to be posting an assignment for you called the H2 Olympics. I know, it's cheesy. So there's two options. One is to try to do it as an in-home lab, which I recommend because it's fun. You're just like playing with stuff. And if you don't have the materials you need, or you're a little bit pressed on time and you're feeling stressed out, then you can go ahead and watch the YouTube videos that I picked out and posted that show the different parts of the lab. So please do whichever one feels right for you. So if you are doing the in-home lab, you're going to need water. You'll need like a pipette or an eyedropper or something like that. You'll need some pennies, although really any coin will do. So dimes, nickels, quarters might be a little tricky, but yeah, dimes or pennies, really good. You could probably use a mix of those. You need a little cup. I would try to use plastic, but like as long as you're careful, a glass cup should be fine. You need paper clips. This should say paper and dish soap, not paper dish soap. I don't know what paper dish soap is. So that was good. You'll need a piece of paper that you can cut. You'll need some dish soap. Just liquid dish soap is fine. And or liquid hand soap would be fine too. And then you need some type of like plate or tray or cookie sheet that you can fill with like a centimeter of water. It doesn't have to be deep. You just have to have like a little puddle. Okay, so whether you're doing option 1 or option 2, tomorrow you should read and annotate the instructions first, so that even if you're not able to do the lab at home, you kind of understand what the lab was about. And then you can watch the videos or do the lab and then fill out the student response sheet. So I'll be posting that on Wednesday, tomorrow. I just didn't want to give you like a ton of stuff today because we have the little quiz and then we have this. This lab will not be due until next Monday. All right, so you have a little bit of time to work on that. We'll have one more assignment this week, studying the water molecule, and that'll be it. We don't have school Friday, and so I won't post anything on Friday. I won't have office hours on Friday, and I'll have a little bit of time on Thursday for you guys to check in with me. So keep an eye out for that. I'll post something about that. All right, I love you guys. Let me know if you have any questions. As always, I am here for you, and hopefully you can have some fun playing with water and trying to learn about its little unique properties.